Bamidbar, we're in the desert. What do you see? How does it feel? What is there? I've heard this parsha over and over again, and rabbis really like to talk about it as a symbol of emptiness. It's barren, become empty like the desert. And I don't think they've ever been to a desert. I'm from the desert, as most of you know, because I'm quite proud of being from Las Vegas, because where else do you learn to count? Playing Keno. I've also spent most of my life in deserts, in Tucson, my favorite desert being Antarctica. Yes, that is a desert. They're vast and they're full of life and ecological wonders. They're not barren. They're all intimidating in their own way. They're full of life-threatening heat or frigid waters that will kill you in 30 seconds. I know because we had to take safety training. Don't fall into Antarctic waters. They are intimidating. And that's what also makes them kind of queer. Like not queer as in like who you're sleeping with, but like the bell hooks version of queer, about being the self that's at odds with everything around it and has to invent and create and find a place to speak and thrive and live. And that's where we begin this book of Torah today, in this liminal space of the desert, at odds with our surroundings, at odds with each other, and inventing ourselves as a Jewish people. We've just separated ourselves from Egypt, from the people that we were, and we're not quite to whatever we're going to be. We are forming all sorts of identities. Identity formation is talked about in three ways. There's so many therapists in here and other people that probably have way better knowledge. Or get a remedial, here we go. They talk about the separation and detachment, and then the transformation, and then the reintegration, right? And this separation, this detachment, it's physically and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually very hard and needing of a lot of faith that whatever you're detaching from, you are gonna find your way to something else. Because that liminal space has grief and fear. There's these shifts in our lives that are not always well-timed or planned or welcomed. There are births and there are also deaths, and there's career changes and losses and relationship changes and relationship losses and health traumas. All of these things put us in these liminal spaces. I work with a lot of trans families, a lot of trans kids, and the parents come to me often, when does it end? When are we done with the transformation? Bless your heart. I love that question because I just have to be like, you will find out that there is no answer to that question. And they do eventually, and they come back, and it's so beautiful because they're like, oh, it's just a cycle. We're just going to be in and out of the desert, in the separation and in the liminal, and back into the reintegration. And they make this space for these kids to have that journey on their own. A couple weeks ago in the Torah, we read the laws of Shemitah. I mean, you put the desert rabbinic student in front of a microphone, obviously I'm going to talk about land and queerness. Shock. In Shemitah laws, we're told every 7 years to let the land go. The translation is release and let go. The land also becomes ownerless, the same way Rabbi Susan is talking about how we become ownerless. The way we become like the desert is also becoming ownerless. Bamidbar in the desert shares the same root as the word midaber, that which speaks. And the desert is that which speaks. Listening to this liminal space is how you move through it and into it. There's not always a through to another side. Sometimes it's just the liminal space. The way that you listen and adapt is how you live in the liminal space. The desert has all of that in it. Lichen, which are very resilient, when heat is too extreme, or when their surroundings are too extreme, lichen will become dormant. which must be nice. The world's smallest owl is a little elf owl, and it has learned in the Sonoran Desert to make a little home in saguaro cacti, because what predator is going to try and mess with a cactus to eat an elf owl? Fennec foxes in the Sahara have adapted to have giant pads of fur on the bottom of their feet so that they can live there. The desert and the liminal spaces will transform you. It's only in this ownerless desert that's stripped of the narratives of what we were before, where we can see the difference between what we were socialized to believe, whether it's about our bodies, our intellect, our sexuality, our gender, our families, our politics, our faith. When we learn and let go of all of those, we are liberated into understanding who we are. The desert is not empty. In Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, one of my favorite lines, I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. That line is not my favorite, but the way the rabbis interpret this is, the rabbis say, the verse is a statement of the desert. I am the desert, and I am beloved because all the good things in the world are stored in me. I, the desert, am beloved because all the good things in the world are stored in me. The liminal, ownerless, open-spaced, and beloved because everything good is inside of it. You just have to listen to let it transform you. So I offer, if you did think of a desert in the beginning, and if it was empty, maybe look at it again, feel it again, look at what is stored in there for you, look at what you can take from it, look what you can give to it. Wherever you are in your individual journey, together in the desert, we are forming our own identity, leaving behind a narrative of our people that no longer serves us, and on our way to a new identity that we haven't yet formed. May we all find the openness to hear what the desert is speaking to us, and find ways to revel in our liminal spaces, and find all the wisdom and good of the world that is stored there for us. May it change our whole selves, no matter how long the deserts are, no matter how many times we come back to it, or how many we're in at one time. Shabbat shalom, enjoy the desert.
Comes the morning when I can feel that there's nothing left to be concealed. Moving on a scene surreal. No, my heart will never be far from here. Sure as I'm breathing, sure as I'm sad, I keep this wisdom in my flesh. I leave here believing more than I had, and there's a reason I'll be back. As I walk the hemisphere, got my wish to up and disappear. I've been wounded, I've been healed, but for landing I've been Sure as I'm breathing, sure as I'm sad.